Hi guys, nice to see you again. Let me just get out of this. Oh, I've got no fuel. I have to go and get some fuel. There's another freezing day here in Suffolk. Well, the north of Suffolk, on the border of, I know I keep saying this, the border of Norfolk and Suffolk, on the edge, near the sea. It's absolutely freezing here. Tomorrow I'm going back home, and it's going to be very freezing there, because at least here in the house, my friend's house, you know, it's a terraced house, and so you've got neighbours next door on both sides, so you're insulated from the elements. So even if you've got no central heating on, it's still going to feel warm, but warmer than if you're isolated in the middle of nowhere. And that's what we are. We're isolated, like in the middle of nowhere. And so you've got the elements, wind, rain, snow, whatever, battering you, the cold. And so it's a lot more expensive heating the house up. Like, you have to heat the house up. But the problem is, at the moment, we've got a problem with money, and so there's not any money to heat the house up. And you might be able to get away with it in a terraced house because you're extracting heat from your neighbours, but you can't do it in the middle of the countryside. So it's a horrible situation. If you don't, it's a big house, and if you don't heat a house that big, then it gets really cold and the mould sets in very quickly. Well, don't take my word for it, but I think mould sets in really quickly because there's no heat there to kill the, I don't know, spores or whatever they are that create the mould. And plus it's damp, you see. As I keep saying, the water table is really high, and you're surrounded with grass, and it's all wet. You know, the environment is really wet. So I don't know. I might go and stay inside, live inside the camper van. I know the camper van, you know, is going to be really cold, but at least you can heat it up. It's a really small space, it's easier to heat up. So I don't know, that might work. Yeah, I know I've got low fuel. I've got to fuel up soon, don't worry. But yeah, come right up my arse. Why don't you? Just don't like people right up my arse. I feel like I'm being pushed, I'm being pressured. And what I do is I go even slower. I'm going slower on purpose to make this guy as pissed off as possible. See what he's going to do. I know, it's like I'm looking for trouble. I'm not looking for trouble. I don't like being pushed, and I feel that I'm being pushed by cars that go right up my tail, right up my exhaust. So anyway, oh, that's so sunny. Yeah, there's some news. I saw some news yesterday on online. I'm not sure if whether YouTube dishes out videos that they recommend videos based on what you've looked at before. So it's kind of my fault. I've looked at these immigration kind of videos, more like anti-immigration videos, and so they keep getting sent to me, even though I don't want to watch them anymore. But there was one interesting one. I was talking about ITV and how ITV aired some kind of, did a piece on a lady being racially attacked in England, and I thought, oh, okay, a Muslim lady, she was racially attacked, and basically when you read the story, it's absolutely ridiculous, really ridiculous. So apparently, the gist is, I didn't have a look at the story because I thought it's just ridiculous. I saw the thumbnail and then I thought, no, I'm not. I watched a little bit and then I thought, no. Because if I click on it, then I'll be sent more of these kind of videos. They'll be referred to me or recommended. So the story is that I think this lady, she felt offended because an English guy, a white guy, said pork to her, and obviously the pork, Muslim people can't eat pork. I didn't know it was an offence though. So basically, but then she wasn't sure if this man said it to her because he was walking away, and he might have actually said it to somebody else. But anyway, she was offended, and so that's called a racial attack. The Muslim lady was racially attacked. That was the headline. Like, that's not racial attack. How can it be a racial attack? Because you can have white Muslims, black Muslims, Middle Eastern Muslims. How can that be a racist attack? And then attack, I think that's quite an exaggeration. A person that walks by and says, maybe is talking to someone else. Yeah, I'm going to have some pork later on, and she happens to be there. Like, are they like ultra sensitive that they can't hear the word pork? Or maybe the person, just kind of walked past and said, pork. That's not an attack though. Come on. Even if the person, let's say, did it to offend that person. I mean, he didn't do it right in front of her and said, pork, or was eating pork and said, this is delicious. But the ITV News, run this story as a racist attack. That is absolutely ridiculous, but it just shows how, woke and ultra woke, or whatever. Maybe woke is not the word, but how silly things are. And maybe a lot of Muslim people aren't that sensitive, and maybe white people aren't that racist, but these news outlets, the media, has to make something out of nothing. They can't be any good news. It has to be constantly bad news, right? Something that pisses you off and something that annoys you. So they have to make up stuff. And, flavor of the month at the moment, it's immigration, right? Immigration. Some are for it, some against it. And that's how they create problems and war amongst people, conflict. So I think if you watch a lot of these videos, you have to think, what's the vibe behind all these videos? Of course, what ITV did is ridiculous, but you're watching a video, you're watching a YouTube video that's trying to sensationalize or trying to piss you off, right? About a news outlet or media outlet that's trying to piss you off. If you see what I mean. They're both trying to trigger you. This one's trying to trigger you, trigger, I don't know, Muslims or other people on the left, to see how racist the whites are. And this one's trying to trigger you to tell you how woke, people are. Anyway, it just goes round in circles and circles. So you see, I was caught in that. I thought, but then I think, what is this YouTube channel trying to do? It's trying to trigger me. But some people say, well, Gerald, it's the truth. This is what's happening. Yes and no. Yes and no. It's not exactly. Oh, there's a nice baby there. It's not, it could be part of the truth, but I don't know. These stories are made to scare us and to trigger us, and I wonder if there are demons, that use this energy that are around us, and they want us to be in fear, and be angry, be worried, get into the kind of rage, think evil thoughts about people. It's true that there's lots of Muslims now, that the Muslim population is increasing. And then if you see some of they're slapping they've got these whips and they're slapping their backs. Like, this is in central London. There's a big, I don't know, there's weird stuff. And you link that, of course, to terrorism, but not all Muslims are like that, You've got those moderate Muslims that their religion is just their culture, They were brought up in that culture, and they love their culture, and so they don't practice their religion, or at least they don't practice the kind of radical kind of parts of their religion, all those radical sects or whatever, jihad and things like that. Jihad. They want to take over other countries and stuff like that. If you think about it, Christians are the same, aren't they? They want to preach the gospel and save people in all other countries, in Africa, China, whatever. They want to convert, they want to save, they want people to become like them. So the Muslims are the same. They think their religion is like the real religion, the real way to God or whatever. They have their book, and they want to convert everybody because they feel that's the right God. It's the God, that will, I don't know, whatever it is, save you, or Allah is the real God. So you can't really blame someone who's a Muslim that's born into that religion and loves that religion, loves the Quran, or I don't know how you say it, the Quran, and I'm sure there's some, if you look into the Quran, there are some beautiful verses. Obviously, there's some that are not so beautiful, or can be seen as evil or whatever. But you can say that for all the religions, Judaism, Christianity. You can pick parts out and say, "Wow, this is quite bad." So, what do I know? I don't know anything. Some people will say, "Well, yeah, but what do they do to apostates? People who leave the religion, you should be K-worded." I don't know about that. I'd heard that, but I'm not a religious person. I don't believe in the Bible the way Christians believe in the Bible. I think it's interesting to read the Bible. It's a set of 88 books, not the 66 that we're told, is the original Bible. Yeah, that's the Bible that was hand-picked. There's 22 books, I think, or so. The Gnostic Gospels were taken out because it wasn't convenient to the church at the time. So you have to think, like, I'm an inquisitive person. I would want to read those books. What do they say? And then, as I keep saying, if you think that our books, you know, there are books, religion and cultures that influenced these books, you know, the Bible, for example, because the Bible isn't one book. There's many books, 66 or 88 or whatever. And so why not read those books, you know? Because if they influence the early Yahwites or the first, you know, the Greeks, the Jews, then, you know, we should look into what were they saying. And they kind of saying, as I said, they're saying the same things. So there is a code. I think there is a code in the stories that it's like a thread that goes through the early cultures, early religions, and then into our Bible, and maybe into other religions, other religious texts. So people left these secrets or codes or hidden knowledge, occult. You know, people, when you say occult, well, I just see the cult as hidden teachings, but occult usually means something evil, something bad, you know. And maybe these secret societies, they hid certain secrets or occult knowledge or whatever it is, and they had to become secret societies because you had the church that was all powerful. You know what they did with the Inquisition? Anybody who is seen as a witch or some kind of wizard were killed, were executed. You know, so these secret societies had to come about because they couldn't practice openly. They couldn't talk about their ideas openly. You know, for example, the Gnostics, you know, they would be slaughtered, and I think they were slaughtered. You know, because you're basically saying that our God of the Bible is like a demon. And you're saying, well, that's what they kind of think, that there is a real God, the monad, that I'm not sure, it's not male or female, and created these beings. And one of these beings, so I think Sophia, wanted to create something of herself, and she created the demiurge, or our God. This God then thought it was all powerful and believed he was God, or he is God, and so created Adam and Eve, and then this is where, and the rest is history, as they say. So this is why our God is a jealous God, and in some parts of the Bible, it tells. He tells others to kill, to murder, to do really bad stuff. Instinctively, I don't know. That doesn't, for me, it doesn't seem like a kind Father, a kind God. It seems like a rebellious, out of control deity or whatever. And so that would fit the picture, you know, the Gnostic Gospels, you know, what they're saying would kind of fit the picture, you know. And Jesus didn't write any of the writings in the Bible. Things were written about him. And from what I see is Jesus points to a loving Father within us, not something external. But it's really complicated. The Bible, you know, I'm not a theologian. I'm not someone who's an expert in who studied the Bible, but I can pick out things here and there, and I think it's a fair point that our God is the demiurge. You know, when it came to the Garden of Eden, what kind of God would put a tree and there's a forbidden fruit, but you're not supposed to touch that fruit? Why tempt Adam and Eve? Unless it's symbolic, and the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil aren't really physical trees. they are trees within our body. So the Bible can be understood in different ways. There are different layers as well. It's very complicated. You have the basic religion that the masses, gobble up, go to church, whatever, read their Bible. Then you have a deeper layer. You have the symbols, and you have hidden. You have the symbols, like secret symbols, parables, stories that, maybe could be understood on a deeper level, your spirit, your subconscious, or whatever. And then there's an even deeper level that's reserved for disciples or people in the inner circle, or revealed to you by God. These are just my ideas. I didn't get this from anywhere. So, what am I trying to say? I'm saying that I'm a doubting Thomas. I doubt everything. Any scientist should doubt. So you can't take a theory and run with it. You should actually test that theory. That theory has to be disproven. You have to try your best to disprove that theory. If that theory is robust, it's almost impossible to disprove. It's very difficult. So when it comes to the Bible and God, it's such an important subject. God is should be the most important thing. You should be able to doubt, and you should be able to ask questions, and you should be able to even say the scariest thing, that our God is not really the God that we think he is. He is the deceiver. And it's the other way around. Like Lucifer or Satan are not the bad ones. Imagine for a second if it was totally the wrong way around. If our God was not the God that we thought. If the serpent in the Garden of Eden was not the evil one. If the serpent was the good one, the wise one, trying to teach us. What if Jesus Christ and the serpent are one? It may not seem that they're the same, but they may be. But religion has taught us that, the serpent is the evil one that tempted Eve. But isn't the serpent the one that went up the cross? A symbol of wisdom. Jesus did say in one part of the Bible, be like serpents, be wise like serpents. And so the serpent isn't just a symbol of evil, but also the symbol of wisdom. So on the one hand, evil, on the other hand, wise. You might say, how can Jesus be the serpent in the garden? Well, it could be that Jesus is like the coiled, 3.5 times coiled serpent that resides in the sacrum. Sacrum? Similar thing. And Jesus, or the Christ energy, is like the kundalini, like the serpent that comes up your spine, and then you become enlightened once you get to the top. Now, there was a lady that said something about the Freemasonry, and "Yous lot have destroyed the world" or something. I don't know much about Freemasonry, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Jesus was not a carpenter. Maybe when they speak about him being a carpenter, maybe I think I've read something like in the Bible, if you go back in the Greek version, I don't know, a Greek version or a version before that, The word carpenter wasn't carpenter, it was like a bricklayer. He worked with stones. And in that case, the stone that the builders rejected became the cornerstone. What is the cornerstone? The cornerstone is a triangle stone, the corner of the pyramid, the all-seeing eye, the one that you see in your dollar bills. That's the all-seeing eye that the secret societies try to hide. They didn't try to hide because it's hidden. Well, it has to be hidden because the church wouldn't like it. So let's say, for example, Jesus was not a carpenter and he was a mason. That's where you get the word mason from, you see? And it's all hidden in symbology and symbols. You have also the connection is also the 33 years of Jesus Christ and the 33 levels of Freemasonry, or the 33 vertebrae of the body. It all points to Jesus being the serpent, the kundalini that goes up the spine, the 33 vertebrae, or the 33 years of Christ, and then lies dormant in the brain for 2.5 days, and then the human being becomes enlightened. There you have it. My crazy rant for today. Luckily, I've only got about 200 people who will watch this or listen. My words will go unnoticed. You're going to have some trans influencer who's got millions of views, and this is what is pushed. Nothing wrong with a trans influencer. Nothing right either. Right, there's no right or wrong, I suppose, nowadays. Well, there is a right, of course, and a wrong, but in that sense. So, I don't know what you guys think. You don't have to think anything, because I don't have to be right or wrong. I'm just right for my own kind of stage in my journey, spiritual journey, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, was it yesterday? I got a ring on the doorbell, and you've got. So I opened it because my friend was a bit sleepy, and so I opened the door, and you had a woman at the door, all dressed nicely, all smiling, and then a man behind her, tall guy, all smiling, all nice, and they had some books, and then some magazines, and one said Awake. I knew immediately what they were. Jehovah's Witnesses. Oh my goodness. So I said, "Oh, sorry, how can we speak to you for a moment? You know, all ultra nice, all fake. You know, that's how I see them. I see them as fake. Like, it's a fake niceness." So, so I said, "No, I'm not the owner of the house. I'm just a visitor. I'll get the owner in a minute." And so, yeah, I know it was a bit bad, but I kind of I put her in it. I put her in trouble. But I mean, she likes talking about Jesus. She's religious as well. So she spoke to them, and afterwards she said she felt sick. And I said, "Yeah, that's talking to them. That's what happens when you talk to them." But no, she was sick because she wasn't feeling that well. And you know how they linger on and keep you there for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you know. And if they know that they've got a person they can actually engage and talk to and convert, then they'll come again. Oh, they'll come again, all right. They don't come again with me, because in London we used to have them on a Sunday. You have these black families, like 2, 3. They gang up on you, you know. They're all dressed up. You know when they're dressed up really nice and they've got that smile and a magazine in there, you know they're Jehovah's Witnesses. But with me, they shake their sandals off and they run away or walk away. They're not coming back to me because it doesn't work. I'm not saying all Jehovah's Witnesses are like this, but I've known family members who've been involved with the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I've known, I'll tell you, these people are not perfect. They have some bloody serious problems, like all of us. They're not these angelic beings and beings that have a perfect life. Far from it. And their families suffer. I remember my godfather, obviously he's Catholic, right? And so he joined the Jehovah's Witnesses, local ones. And there used to be a guy, an Asian guy. He was really dark skinned. I don't know which country, I don't know. And he used to come to the house and talk to the son. The son had mental health problems, you know, schizophrenia. And they all talked. They were really happy together, you know, smoked. The son used to smoke, the dad used to smoke, but he didn't smoke. And I think at some point they rejected him because he wouldn't stop smoking or stop drinking, because he drank some wine, he would smoke every day or something like that, something so silly. Like they rejected him, you know. And I'm thinking, right, Jesus Christ, they are above Jesus, right? Because Jesus Christ accepted prostitutes. You know, he sat down with prostitutes, with tax collectors. You know, I mean, to sit down with a tax collector is really difficult. You know, prostitute maybe not so bad, but you know, with sinners, he came to save the sinners and try and help people. You know, and he says, like, you should go and like visit like prisoners and send them letters or whatever, and try and do good to people who sin. What's the point in doing good to people who are good to you? You know, but these guys will reject you. Will reject you for smoking and drinking. I know my godfather, he didn't used to drink a lot, maybe a little bit of wine, not a lot, and he used to smoke every day. So something like that. I'm not sure exactly what it was. Yeah, but they're judgmental, those guys. They believe 144,000 of them, they're going to come back to this new earth, and the rest, you know, go to hell or whatever. I don't know. They don't understand the symbology of the Bible. They don't realize the 144,000, that number means, because you know the Yahwites, the Jews, and all these people, numerology is really important. It's something. Should I tell you? The 144,000 is the number 9. The 666 is also the number 9. So the number 9 is the number of, from what I understand in Chinese, like in Chinese alchemy, it's perfection. So you have the 9 times. I'm looking around to see if there's anyone listening. No, only a few hundred here. 9 times, what's it called? Returned elixir, or 9 times refined elixir. Because they believe that if you refine something for 9 times, it takes away all the impurities and things like that. That's one reason. But if you think about the basic, I think it's numerology, is it called numerology? 144, right, you take away the zeros, the thousands. 1 plus 4 plus 4 is 9. You take the number 666. 6 plus 6 plus 6 is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. So you will see this in many areas in the Bible. So once you look at these things and you look at the codes, these kind of codes, and you see, I can see, maybe it's ADHD or whatever, but I can see, like, if there's on a carpet, I can see a pattern. If I see the clouds, I can see monsters and dragons, and I see patterns in things. So I think it's kind of the same thing, isn't it? Maybe I see patterns where there are no patterns. I'm just talking a load of rubbish. Well, anyway, I better stop. My feet are freezing, so I better go and get something for my friend, because she's a bit peckish. And I'll see you guys in another video. Take care, and bye.